Hello. Is this Stillwater? It looks kind of spoopy. We gotta keep this spoopy train a-going. But also it just looks, the art is pretty. I'm not gonna lie. I've had my eye on this one for a while, and I've been meaning to play it for a while. And it's mostly because the art is pretty. That's how they get you. What the fuck is the break room? Oh. Interesting. Well, this is a work of fiction. Yep. Okay. Horror, mature themes, violence, strong language. I mean, that's a given here. Oh, we did it. I'm sorry, but I can't stay here anymore, Nina. I feel like I'm going crazy. Calm down. If we can just talk it out. So many strange things keep happening one after another. Every day there's this damn dripping sound. I thought it was just something leaking at first, but I check every faucet, every seal, everything, and still I hear it everywhere, constantly echoing in my ears. Nina, please listen to me. Oh, but the water, that damn water. Water? Yes, it's everywhere. Pools of it are all over the house, and every time I try to mop it up, another will appear. There's no end to it. But it's at night when it comes. What are you talking about? I hear someone or something walking along the hallways at night. Maybe it's just my grandfather. No, Nina, it's not him. I thought it was, but it's not. But I've seen it, that thing. Huh? I only glimpsed it once, but I'm more than certain that thing was not your grandfather. Ever since that night, I would lock my door and pray it would walk past my room. I don't know what's going on, but I swear it just keeps walking. Always walking on pools of water. Sometimes I hear them randomly. Their steps are erratic and faint, but I can still hear them. Just this steady pace up and down the halls. But I think recently it's no longer like that. What do you mean? Every morning I follow to see where the wet footprints lead. It walks towards something, more clearly than before. It would walk down the halls, climb the stairs, turn corners, all of it I'd follow. Eventually the trail would come to a stop. And it would all stop right by your grandfather's room. His room? If this is some sick joke to scare me away, please stop. It's not a joke, Nina. I meant it when I said that there's something wicked going on in this house. That can't be true. I know this is a lot, but you have to believe me. I can't stay here any longer. I'm sorry, Nina. It's okay. I understand. Thank you for taking care of my grandfather up until now, and I'm sorry for all the stress I've caused you. I'll be sure to pay you right away as soon as I... Nina, listen to me. I don't know what's happening around here, but... The woman on the phone cautiously looks around, turning her head constantly back and forth, looking over her shoulder to find, if any, others listening in. She grips the phone so close to her ear in a vice-like grip before speaking again in a hushed tone. Something terrible is lurking in this house. I don't know what it is, but please, as soon as you get back, take your grandfather and just leave this place. Leave? I can't just leave everything behind. We have nowhere else to go. Please, Nina, it's not safe. The rumors, they're true. The curse is real. My family is not cursed. But Nina, at this rate, you and your family will... Enough! A pause. Cold and sharp tenseness strains the call as both women, exhausted and stressed beyond their comfort, try to stifle their growing frustrations towards one another. Neither yielding to the other's thoughts, only leaving anger and hurt to fester through the silence. After what feels like a suffocating stillness, Nina finally sighs heavily and responds bluntly to the caretaker. Look, I don't know what you heard or saw, but I just can't leave things like this. Whoever, whatever they are, they'll answer to me. I won't let them have their way. I don't have time wasting my energy on this stupid curse. So if you can't help me, so be it. I'll find a way. Nina, my grandfather's all that I have left, okay? He's all that I have left. Dun dun dun. A diner. 7 a.m. That's too early. Ain't nobody should be awake that early. Amid a foggy morning, there sits a man by the corner of a booth. He drinks black coffee and, depending on his mood, occasionally orders a donut. Today it was just black coffee. Ugh. I swear I've never seen that amount of paperwork in my life. Freaking mountain worth of it. You're a valuable member of our team, Hugo. My foot. I'm starting to believe that I was bamboozled into joining their agency. Ugh. Hugo Laurent, age 30, takes a good look at his cup of joe and chugs it all in one sitting. Jesus! It's still steaming! Your mouth is... all of your taste buds have died now. Congratulations. I mean, I guess that's the only way you can drink coffee black, so good job. He then continues to grumble to himself about last night's grueling work at the office. Really need to find a different job. As he contemplates his poor life choices, he looks out towards the early mist. There was something inherently terrifying about the fog to him, how it engulfs everything and nothing. Even if it disappears, it always leaves behind traces, proof of it remaining. Even in a quaint little town like this, can't even run from my fate, I guess. Hugo finally stares at the compiled newspaper clippings he put together. Some of them from recent events, but mainly all were past headlines of missing person cases. No matter how many times I see this, it's still just as hard to look at it. Fixating case after case, he can't help but remind himself that there is a reason for all of this. An all too personal reason. Seeing strange things comes with a price. In the end, I'm the one doing this to myself. Sounds rough. Mind if I join Kuya? An annoyingly familiar voice interrupts his train of thought. He slowly looks up to see the one responsible, although reluctantly. Good morning, Hugo. Hugo scowls and turns away from him. He then gathers the files and shoves it back into the binder. Meanwhile, the tall man takes this as an initiative and sits at the opposite end of the booth. He greets the waitress passing by and orders himself the hefty body breakfast special with an extra plate. As usual, the waitress is happy to oblige and goes back to the counter to relay his order. The man then looks back at Hugo. He sees the empty cup and the now jumbled newspaper clippings, all the while Hugo is trying to ignore him. You really should eat something with that black coffee. Not ordering any donuts today. I'm fine, Noah. Just not in the mood, okay? Not even a little. There's a momentary silence between them before Noah disturbs it once more. Well, too bad for you. I ordered a big breakfast for the two of us. Oh my god, look at all those fucking pancakes. Are these fucking tater tots? Hash browns? Potato! That's gotta be potato! As if the world could grace Noah with an even more perfect punchline, the food arrives. That was so fast! Why the hell did you order for the two of us? Just eat what you want to eat. Don't worry about me. Wow. Oh boy. We're making me... I'm so thankful that they included a fucking pronunciation guide. Thank you. Wukong Masurup. Right, Hugo? Are you even listening to me? Come on. We both know that if you don't eat now, who knows when you will, and I'm not about to let you faint again. So open wide. Noah De Leon, age 27, a natural born charmer, also the only person in the world who lovingly threatens him to eat every day. We all need someone like that, let's be real. The pensive look, Hugo finally gives in and eats the generous spoonful without further complaints. It's good. Right? Good food will always cheer you up. Damn him, I got fucking swept away again. Oh, by the way, the chief will be out for a business trip. She mentioned it will be for a couple of days. When did she tell you this? I didn't hear anything about it. Yesterday, I think? Yesterday? She told me to sort out the cabinets yesterday. Why? She didn't mention anything about a business trip. Guess it was a pretty sudden one. Well, I mean, she did tell me to tell you. And lucky me, I know where you go every morning. You know what? I'm not surprised anymore. Well, what do you want to do? We technically have the day off. I'm gonna head back to the office. There's a couple boxes I didn't get a chance to sort out. In that case, I'll come with you. Why? You could just rest for the day. And pass up this opportunity to get to know you better? Kuya. Quit it. After their enlightening banter, the two of them finish their breakfast, pay for their meals, and head to Hugo's car. As Noah opens the door to the passenger seat, he notices a bloodhound sleeping inside. You left a dog in the car? That's unsafe. Oh my goodness, that dog has no eyeballs. The big dog stirs at the sound of the car opening and lazily stares at Noah. Sorry, big guy. He then closes the door while trying not to make too much noise to disturb its occupant. Colby. Oh, it does have eyeballs! At the sound of his name, his heavy-lidded eyes slowly peek to see who calls for him. It's his one and only partner, his human. As if realizing who he is or where he is, the old bloodhound stirs up from his sleep, pounces at Hugo, and proceeds to wag his tail uncontrollably. Wow. Good morning again, Colby. Had a nice nap. Oh my god, you're so happy! Colby, 8 years old, Hugo's most faithful and loving partner in crime, has the biggest tendency to just sleep all over the place. What a life. I wish I could live that life. Noah, who's witnessing all of this from the back seat, chuckles to himself. He's amazed and slightly defeated at Hugo's sudden surge of energy. Doesn't matter how many times I try, when it comes to boosting up his mood, no one can beat Colby. Oh, right, I have to click. Haha, I knew that. It took us so long to get over here. The three head back to the office. Space is just the same as Hugo left it. A decent, organized mess. To his credit, for the amount of boxes he painstakingly went through, he believes he did a fair job. Albeit, it could have been better. Wow, you really outdid yourself, Hugo. It looks less crowded. Ugh, just shut it, will you? I said I was gonna get to it. Thanks, boy. Before Hugo could continue to give deserved head pats, he notices someone. A woman stands timidly peering outside from the storefront. She looks a bit frantic and even more restless with her disheveled and ill-fitted clothes, drawing emphasis to her already too visible petite frame. The woman tries to grasp the door handle several times but stops before she could touch it. Her brows furrow, agitated and distressed about something. So much to the point it's preventing her from simply reaching out for help. However, when she finally makes eye contact with Hugo, she immediately rushes in. I'm so sorry. I know that the close sign is up, but I saw you come in and I... Are you alright, miss? I need your help. My grandfather, he... Before she can continue explaining, Noah swiftly cuts in front of Hugo and intervenes, in all too practiced manner. It's okay, miss. We'll hear what you have to say. So please, why don't you sit right over there? Noah gestures to one of the empty seats at the other side of the office. The The poor woman hesitates for a moment. She clutches desperately to the strap of her purse, her eyes focusing apprehensively on them and at the gestured seat. After mulling over Noah's offer, she quickly glances back and nods. The woman then walks towards the corner of the room and sits at the edge of the sofa. Her posture is wary and tense, giving no sign of comfort for even this brief moment of peace. Can you start off by telling us your name? I apologize for earlier. I'm usually a bit more composed than this, but I guess I'm failing at that too. My name is Nina Mortimer. Hello, Miss Nina. My name is Noah DeLeon. I'm one of the assistants here. That big guy next to you is our other lovely assistant, Colby. Do we get paid the same amount? And the one brooding over there is private investigator Hugo Laurent. I'm not brooding, I'm just tired. Our chief is away on business, but I think we can still accommodate you. So, how can we help, Miss Nina? For just a moment, Nina appeared a bit more lax, more hopeful, maybe even relieved from this warm welcome. However, she once again tenses up. The guilt and shame come rushing back to her, visible by the creases of her brow as she once again realizes why she's here. I need help watching over my grandfather tonight. Tonight? Yes, I know this is a strange request, but my hands are tied on this. It has to be tonight. I'm sorry, Miss Nina. I don't quite understand. Is your grandfather in any danger? I think someone's trying to take him away. Take him? Miss Nina, I think you should contact the police right away. They're far more equipped at handling this kind of situation. No, they're not. I've tried requesting their help, but they've given me the same answer verbatim for weeks now. They would send someone out to watch over the manor for the entire day, but by the end of their routine, they would always report back nothing unusual. They saw no one else leaving or arriving at the house other than me or the caretaker. And despite telling them all in detail about the letters and all the strange things that's been happening, there's nothing they can do about it but just sit around until it escalates even more. I can't wait any longer, any more than this, and it'll all be too late. If only I knew who Lewis was. Lewis? She lets out a gasp. Her hands shoot out to cover her mouth, realizing she's said too much so carelessly. She tries to avert their gaze, but Hugo stares persistently at her. Miss Nina? Who's Lewis? Are they the ones causing all this? Once more she contemplates, her brows knit closely together as she bites her lips nervously. It's as if the words she wanted to say have suddenly died out, too heavy to even utter. A mistake she can't take back. Before the silence stretches further, Noah speaks to Nina with a gentle and reassuring tone. Miss Nina, I know it's scary. All the things you've mentioned to us so far, no one should ever have to experience that. Especially by themselves. And I assure you, we'll listen to all of it. I promise. Wild, manic eyes search deeply at them, trying desperately to discern any doubt or mistrust on their faces. However, all she sees are people who are willing to give their time to simply listen to her, to actually help her. From this alone, Nina looks to the side where her purse is and opens it. Tucked inside one of the pockets, she takes out a single, slightly crumpled envelope with a pigmented red wax seal pressed in the middle. At a glance, Hugo can tell right away that this letter appears to be a bit more worn out and antique. And yet, despite its delicate form, it remains well preserved, well kept. It's as if the letter itself was untouched by time, forever waiting to be opened. Grandfather's been receiving cryptic letters for the past month now. The letters didn't come with an address or the name of the sender, but this one is different from the rest. This had the name Lewis on it. As she hands over the letter, Hugo notices her hand slightly shaking. Nina's still avoiding his gaze, but he knows she's trying in earnest. Before he can reach out his hand, he senses it. faint shift in the room, unnoticeable to the others, but all too glaringly clear to him. There's something very wrong with this letter. I just noticed that my cursor's in the upper corner for some reason. Suddenly Hugo recoils his hand away in pain, like being struck with something sharp, so spontaneously, so memorable, that even if the pain disappears within seconds, a hint of it remains. Something so small, akin to a prick from a rose's thorn. Or more like a paper cut.
Are you alright? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you.
No, I'm fine, Miss Mortimer. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Hugo stares squarely at the cut. Thin red line starts to form slowly by the top of his index finger, trailing down and stopping just above the first crease. Red so clearly visible it's taunting. That doesn't look like a normal paper cut to me. Let me get you a band-aid. It's fine, Noah. I don't need one. But really, it's fine. Doesn't even hurt that much. Dude, you're gonna get blood everywhere, though. Noah takes one good look at him before sighing exasperatedly and sitting back down in his chair, still eyeing Hugo's hand. Hugo shrugs and returns his attention back to the letter, but this time, luckily, nothing happens. For it to reach all the way out here with just a letter alone is truly terrifying. Carefully, he removes the content of the envelope and unfolds it. At first, it looks like any other normal written message. A person named Lewis is asking the other, Henry, to come meet him by the lake at midnight, needing to share something important with him. However, what's eerily striking about this is not the letter itself. Appearing at the bottom of the page, a message scrawled, unlike the rest, stands visibly out to Hugo. A message that shouldn't be there. Remember our promise, Henry. When did you receive this letter?
Yesterday?
And your grandfather, where is he right now?
He's currently back at the house with the caretaker. I promised them I wouldn't be out for too long. I made an agreement with them, you see.
Oh, what sort of agreement?
The caretaker we have now agreed to watch over my grandfather, but only during the day. Before nightfall, they would leave exactly at the same time.
Before nightfall?
I wanted to believe that this whole thing was an elaborate scheme to scare my family away. I know this sounds crazy, but at one point I thought everyone was in on it. The mail carriers, the officers, the caretakers. Everyone had a hand at making our family suffer. But this one was different. Up until now, I've never heard of anyone by that name. Not a relative or family friend, but they clearly know who grandfather is. If I don't do something about this, I'll lose him too.
Just by uttering the words alone, Nina begins to break down. The stress, anxiety, the fatigue, all of it was finally catching up to her. Her body hunches forward, her hands pressed close to her eyes as she tries to cover the stream of tears running down her face. As an act of comfort, Colby sits closer to Nina while Noah fetches tissues for her. Hugo, on the other hand, is puzzled. She said this whole thing has been going on for the past month, but something doesn't add up. And before nightfall, I think there's more to this she's not admitting. Whatever happened with the letter, I'm more than certain. Certain that whoever or whatever Lewis is, they're coming for blood. Oh, shit. We can just be like, nope. That's very funny. Actually, I'm kind of curious. That's gotta be like an immediate end, right? I'm curious. Hugo casts his face downward to stare directly at the ground in front of him, unable to look at Nina. The burden, the solitude, the madness. Hugo knows all of it too intimately. He suffers the same conflicts that weigh heavily on her mind. And yet, In spite of this, oops, it's too much for him. Go away. Like walking on a tightrope with the ground void and unclear, vast and empty and dark. So very, very dark. No, I can still do it. We can still do this. Before he could respond, a distant voice so charming, so terribly commanding, binds him at the spot. Oh. It's already too late for them, you know? No, not here. Dull but yet distinct pulsating sound, so rhythmic in its tune, starts its maddening melody. From the top of his crown down to the base of his skull, he feels it, all present and daunting. Just let go. Let me help you. No, I can do it if you would just let me. Snake-like hands wrap around his head so closely, squeezing ever so tightly that he can't help but try to shut his eyes from the pain. Such a kind person you are, Hugo. Hugo tries to ground himself, tries to remind himself to breathe. A sweet and beloved friend. To remember there are other people that care for him. Joy and warmth of their company. I wish you could have done the same for me. Oh no! To remember that he's here and present, that he's useless. Uh-oh. Hugo, hey, what's wrong? Tugging at Hugo's coat, Noah tries to catch his attention but fails as he notices something amiss. Hugo? There's a despondent look on Hugo's face, his eyes distinctly shrouded by a deep haze as if lost in them. He won't budge. No matter how many times Noah tries to tug or shake him, he still won't respond. But for Hugo, he can hear everything. Like a paralysis he can't wake from, his body sits there, motionless and detached from everything. Desperate and concerned, Noah turns to Nina and ushers in a sincere apology. I'm sorry, Miss Nina, but I don't think we can help you at the moment. If you would just come back a bit later, then we can...
No, it's fine. There won't be a next time.
Hugo winces at her cold and blunt remark. No, wait, Miss Mortimer, please. Nina stands up abruptly from her seat. She wipes away the tears quickly from her reddened face with the sleeves of her coat and looks down. Once more, her tense and cold front-like demeanor returns to the forefront, already trying to forget and move on. Without so much as a word, she slightly bows her head towards them and walks out of the office, not once looking back. Whoopsie-doops. I was just so curious. Ha, oop. And we got some interesting insight into what the fuck is going on with this guy over here, so worth it. Do you want more tissues? We'll do it. We'll take on your case. For a moment, everything goes still. Their eyes and attention are solely directed at Hugo, whose eyes have a certain glint to them, now unwavering and more determined than ever. Before anyone else speaks, Nina stands up, wipes away any stray tears from her face, and walks up to him.
You'll take it?
Hugo simply nods.
Thank you. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me.
We're glad to help, miss.
Nina, please, just call me Nina.
Well, Nina, we'll do our best. Nina smiles at Hugo and Noah in gratitude. Her eyes renew with a faint gleam, a hope that maybe things will change for her and her family for the better. However, before heading out, Nina reaches into her bag once more. She takes out a small piece of paper and a pen and hastily starts jotting down something.
I best be on my way now. I'll let Grandfather know ahead of time that you'll be coming. Also, this is my address. I'll be sure to greet you all when you arrive. And thank you again, truly.
She politely bows to them and walks out of the office, already reaching into her purse for her car keys. Hugo watches from his desk as she goes to open the driver's seat.
Nina looks back at the office window and takes one last look at Hugo. She waves slightly at him before finally pulling out of the parking lot and driving off. Once out of sight, Hugo turns to his cluttered desk. Still messy, but presentable. Guess I'll have to sort these out later. Again. Car. Wow. From the ongoing downpour to the quiet hums of the car, they sit in silence. Still miles off their destination, Hugo constantly checks the rearview mirror to see any passing cars. But it's only them on the road. Noah, who usually chats his ear off by now, leans quietly against the car door as he looks out to the passing streetlights, reserved and distant. He hasn't said a word to Hugo since they left the office. Hey, you're a lot quieter than usual. What's wrong? What a surprise! Have you been looking at me, Kuya? No, you idiot. You usually just talk a lot, that's all. So do you miss me talking? Just say it. Do you believe her story? What? Given all the things she told us, do you think she's telling the truth? Yes, I believe her. Or at least I believe she hasn't lied to us. But, you know, I can't shake this feeling that she's hiding something. Like, if she left out certain details on purpose. Also, why did she have to travel this far out of town for a private eye? Surely there must have been another far closer to her home than ours. I just don't know how to explain it. As expected of you, Hugo. Are you making fun of me? No, not at all. I'm just admiring your observations. I didn't want to offend Nina earlier, so I kept quiet until she finished. But her last name caught me off guard. Huh. Have you heard about the Mortimers? They're a pretty distinguished family that owned an esteemed fishing company. Well, they used to, I believe. They have yet to name an heir. What do you mean? Shouldn't it naturally go to Nina? It should, but I don't know. From what I heard, each time they try to name a successor, that relative mysteriously disappears. I mean, that sounds like someone's taking out the competition. Gone without a trace, or so anyone thought. Their bodies would soon turn up months after. And you know what's strange? All of them have been labeled as accidents by local news. No foul play, just another unfortunate loss for the family. They've been struck with so many tragedies that over time people just began to think that they were cursed or something. Cursed. I think I can understand why she wouldn't go to the police again. They most likely thought she was just seeing things and went along with procedures just to keep face. But deep down, they must have thought that she's gone mad. I can't imagine all of this for Nina. And most of all, who knows what we'll find there? Is that why you decided to come with me? Well, partially. I'm more worried about you, though. Me? Why? Think of it this way. I'm the appointed driver. When you decide to do some pretty reckless shit, I'll be there to drive you to the local hospital. Ugh. Besides, 2 is better than 1. Exactly. I was fine with Colby coming with me. Well, have you heard that 3 is better than 2? And also, Colby can't fucking drive, dude. Ugh. We made it. 6 p.m. Ah, Spoopy House. Passing through countless dirt roads and steep cliffs, the estate can finally be seen beyond the evergreen. Nestled away from prying eyes, it stands tall, magnificent, and classic. Truly a rarity only afforded to the privileged. And yet, with all its opulence, it looms from a distance. Hugo and Noah could only gaze at the sheer scale of the manor. Its grand stature topples easily over the dozens of houses they drove past.
Whoa, look at the size of it. I could never imagine seeing a house like this in person. It's almost surreal. Come on, she's waiting for us. Oh, immediately after exiting the driver's seat, a sudden sharp pain weighs heavy on Hugo's chest. Grasping tightly at his coat, he begins to gasp for air. His vision hazes as he leans close to the car, trying desperately to ground himself. Like a fish drawn out of the sea, he desperately heaves. The air in his lungs escaping too quickly burns as he feels his throat start to strain, drawing tighter the more he breathes. But this pain pales in comparison to a feeling far more excruciating. Is it the house? No, something far more sinister. He feels it. Someone is watching him. Piercing gaze fixed on him, like leering at a bug and waiting to strike. We'll be together soon, Henry. What the fuck? Damn it, already? I need to hurry or else. Hey, are you alright? Nell calls out to him, snapping him out of his fixated trance. Oh, Colby nudges his head against Hugo, whining with concern over his partner's well-being. Did you hear that just now? Hear what? That voice. It was so close to my ear,
Is everything alright?
I'm fine. Don't mind me. Just a bit winded out from the trip. That's all.
I'd be happy to make you tea at the very least.
If it's no trouble.
No, not at all. It's the least I can do.
Once again, this subtle uneasiness from Nina surfaces. But before Hugo could get a chance to look further into it, she walked off towards the front porch without saying another word. Are you sure you're alright? You sounded like you were choking earlier. I said I'm fine. Besides, we're already here. Can't back out now. Listen to me, I think you should... Noah abruptly cuts his lecture short as he notices Nina stopping by the front door. She stands by the door silently, contemplating something. Just like before, but this time she seems even more anxious. Whatever unease she tried to mask earlier became more apparent the minute they walked closer to the front door.
I haven't been quite honest with you, Detective.
Just like before, as if carefully choosing her next words, she decides that in this situation, words are not enough.
You'll see for yourselves what I mean.
And with that, Nina enters the house, leaving the three to follow behind. Hugo's about to enter through the foyer when he feels a tug on his arm. Don't forget what I told you. If something happens, let me know right away. You'll be the first to know. With that, Noah releases his grip on Hugo. They proceed to head in, not knowing what awaits them beyond the door. Greeted with a brightly lit hallway, Hugo notes immediately that the interior is just as grand. Adorned with floral accents and antique furnishings, the house itself exudes the word elegance. Classic and rustic charm with the walls and floorings made from the finest wood. Hugo couldn't help but gape when he walked in. However, he notices something even more distinct than the splendor. Behind the seemingly perfect veneer, an unsettling air wreaths throughout the house, leaving no room for doubt that the inside is far more terrifying than the outside.
Please, come this way.
Bracing themselves, they enter the dimly lit drawing room. At first glance, Hugo couldn't discern the silhouette situated at the far corner. Only the sparse lighting from the window pierces through a fraction of the room's darkness. However, as they approached closer to the silhouette, Hugo now understands the reason for all of Nina's unsettling vagueness.
Grandfather, we have guests.
Yo, why your grandfather looks so young though? Hello? Huh? Sitting on the armchair is a very young man, not much older than Hugo or Noah. He's dressed modestly and shares none of the imposing presence of the manor. No, rather, such luxury doesn't even remotely reflect on the man before them at all. It's as if the flow of time had stopped only for him while the rest had continued changing drastically without him. Just like the letter, timeless, delicate, and jarringly out of place. Staring only at the window, the young man sits there dazed with little acknowledgement of the people around him. Still, motionless. Like a doll.
Grandpa, these are the people I spoke of. This is Detective Lauren and his 2 assistants, Colby and Noah. They're going to help us.
Even after introducing them to the head of the Mortimer estate, Hugo and Noah could not help but feel unnerved. The man before them is supposed to be frail and older than any of them. And yet here he remains, forever unchanging, forever young.
They've come a long way, so I'll be making some tea. Would you also like some, Grandpa?
He doesn't reply back, nor does he glance at Nina or anyone else in the room. Only fixates his gaze on the rain, nothing else.
I'll be sure to make a cup for you too.
She then timidly gestures to Hugo and Noah back to the foyer. Bearing more questions, the two follow Nina outside. But before they leave the drawing room, Hugo takes one last look at the young man. There's an all too familiar air about Henry Mortimer. His eyes, they're similar to his own. Whatever he must be longing for, Hugo knows it'll never end well. Oh boy. Nina, that man.
Yes, he's my grandfather, the one I asked you all to watch over. I know this is hard to believe, but...
Nina draws something out of her pocket. It's an old picture of a handsome man with slicked back hair, wearing the finest of suits. The gentleman in the picture has a different air to him, one of wealth and power, none of which reflects at all on the current Henry Mortimer. It's almost as if looking at two different people.
This isn't much to go by, but believe me, they're the same person.
Then why does he look so young?
It happened a few nights ago. I was on my way to get a cup of water when I heard a loud thud coming from my grandfather's room. I was worried that something fell over, so I went to go check.
Whoops.
When I opened the door, I found him collapsed on the ground. I rushed to help him up, but when I did, he looked so different. He wore the same clothes that my grandpa wore that night. And his face! I recognized his face. He looked younger. So many things were rushing through my head at the moment, and yet I knew he felt familiar to me. I know it sounds bizarre the more I talk about it, but that's what happened. That was also the same night I found that letter. It was next to him, already opened. I'm sorry again for all of this. No matter who I went to, they either said something was wrong with me or my family. With everything going on, maybe they're right. The pools of water, the letters, Lewis, now this. I've been ignoring the signs for years and just blindly hoping things can get better if I try finding solutions on my own. But that's not enough anymore. Maybe my family really is cursed.
No, they're not. Curses aren't real.
Detective?
I think we easily get too involved in believing that sort of thing exists. In truth, the ones who fixate on it make it their reality. Rumors, doubts, lies, all of those things are what they want to become real. Deep-rooted emotions like that can't possibly be healed or fixed right away. but like a curse, those emotions drag other people down with them. Personally, I think you were caught up in all of this, but I assure you, we'll see this through. For you and Mr. Mortimer.
Thank you.
Good. Now, our first priority is to find out more about Lewis. Nina, the letter you showed us back at the agency, do you have it with you?
Yes, it's here.
Do you mind if I borrow it for a bit? I'll be sure to give it back.
Of course, but what are you going to do with it? I've searched everything on that letter and I still couldn't come up with clues.
I'll be using it as a reference or guide, if you will. I'm afraid I can't discuss too much of the process. Trade secrets and all.
Of course.
I'll check upstairs. Noah, you and Colby check the ground floor. Got it. Before they leave to do their own investigations, Hugo grabs a hold of Noah's shoulder. He leans in close enough for Nina not to hear. Keep a close eye on Mr. Mortimer and Nina. Especially Nina. I don't want her to be dragged any more than she already is. So, whatever happens, keep her safe. Hugo, you... Fine, but remember, yell for me, okay? I know. Thank you, Noah. I'm counting on you. You too, boy. As a final nod at them, Hugo then goes towards the staircase and heads upstairs. Noah stares for a moment longer at Hugo's back before he disappears into the first floor. He then turns to look at Colby. Well, it's time that we get to work. Right, Colby? Yeah. Investigation start! Huh? The objective is to look around the area for objects to proceed to the story. Arrows are the arrow keys to move to a different area. Outlines will appear on a clickable object. Top right the hint. Click it, highlight object you missed. Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna save. Oh my goodness, this pupper is so wiggly. What you want? Woof woof. Okay. Good job. Nothing. Oh, you're clickable. Mr. Mortimer still sits motionless by the corner of the room, his gaze never leaving the rain. We can't investigate all these pictures that have blankets over them, or sheets or whatever. A delicate arrangement of violets and white roses. They seem to be fresh and fairly new. A large bookshelf stands close to the entranceway. It contains a couple of photo albums and a few phone books. Nothing in the... We don't want to look through the photo album. Oh! Old rotary dial telephone. Looks like it's still in good use. Oh. Frames decorating the walls are covered in white sheets. I swear to God this wasn't clickable earlier. That's crazy. Filled with a thin lining of dust on top of each one. Oh. Wow, there's so many paintings covering the walls, and they're all covered. They're more like this all over the house.
Yes, my grandfather commissioned many back in the day. But sadly, he doesn't do that anymore.
Nina, I can't help but notice the paintings are covered. How come?
I did that. I covered them up for my grandfather's sake.
For his sake?
Yeah, he was pretty obsessed with them, you see. There were times when he would mutter to himself and would just stare at the paintings for days on end. It worried me so much that I had to cover them all. Since then, he hasn't stared at any of them. He just sits quietly, staring outside. That's still the same net result, I feel like, but okay.
I see. About the paintings, I also noticed they all have a similar theme. they all had water in them. I know this isn't a coincidence since you've told us before, but if there's anything you know, anything at all, please tell me.
Noah, can I ask you a question first?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you believe in mermaids?
Fuck! Yes! Fuck! Yes! Fuck yes! Oh my god, we're gonna get mermaids? Are we gonna get the murder mermaids? Because that's what it's feeling like. I'm getting a murder mermaids vibe. Ooh. Anyways. Mermaids? I don't suppose I do. Why? Casting her gaze to the floor, Nina anxiously fidgets and tightly clasps her hands together. She then briefly sighs and continues.
Well, there's this story, or rather, more like a fairy tale, that my family has passed down.
A fairy tale?
Yes, well, it feels like one to me. It was about a fisherman who fell in love with a mermaid. Every day and night he would go out by the shore to gaze at her beauty, but one day she vanished, leaving him confused and heartbroken. Determined, he would sail many seas for a chance to see her again. Sailing from coast to coast, new lands beyond and back, he would go. Not long after, fortune followed him all throughout his journey and made him one of the wealthiest and most highly respected in his village. However, despite all the wealth he gained throughout his travels, he never found the mermaid again. She would only be a dream, nothing more. And that's the end of the story. It doesn't end happily, but I guess there was a lesson behind all of it. I just never understood it. What do you think happened to the mermaid? I know it's an exaggeration, and yet I can't help but wonder.
It's hard to say. I just feel kind of bad for both of them. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of sad endings. If it were me, I would wish the fisherman and the mermaid could see each other again. Or at least that's what I think.
Even if they weren't meant to be with each other?
Yeah, I think so at least. I wouldn't want to imagine going through a journey all by myself. It's hard being alone.
Journey all by yourself.
I'm so intrigued.